Hi all. Today let's see what is the daily challenge for Leetcode today. Okay, so it's a permutation problem. Let's go ahead and read out what this problem says. Given an array nums of distinct integers, return all the possible permutations. You can return the answer in any order. Okay, let's look into the example. So if the number array has 1 to 3, the output will be 1 2 3 1 3 2 like this. Okay, before jumping into the solution, let's go ahead and list it down what our problem actually is, right? Let's understand what permutation means, right? uh, okay, so if I have a number like 1 2 and 3, as we can see from this example, the permutation will look like 1 2 3 1 3 2. So how are we getting this, right? So from 1 to 3, if you want to put your 1 first, and then the combination for this 1 and 2 will be 1 3 2 and 1 2 3, right? Again in the similar way, if I want to keep my 2 first, then 2 1 3 and 2 3 1. Similarly, if I want to keep 3 at first, then 3 2 1 and 3 1 2, right? And if you remember it correctly, if we have n digits in a number, the permutation will become n factorial, like that is 3 factorial in our case, which is 6, right? So how do we get this, right? In another way to think about it is, how many places one can sit, right? One has 3 options to sit. How many options will 2 left with? Is 2. And how many options 3 will be left with? 1. So that is how we calculate permutation, and it will become 6, right? Let's take a smaller example where we have 0 1, right, as numbers. So 0 and 1. You will understand why am I going through all the examples in a bit, right? We have 0 1, so the permutation will be 0 1 and also 1 0, right? So in this case we have two numbers, which is again coming to our formula, which is 2 factorial and 2, right? Similarly, think about if I just have one number like 6, how many permutation will I get? I'll get only one, right? That is 6, because it doesn't have anyone else to compete with, and it has only one place where we can keep 6, right? So the number is 1. Okay, now let's go ahead and think through the problem. How are we going to solve this, right? Instead of jumping into the problem then and there, right? Like as soon as we will iterate through how am I thinking to solve the problem, maybe you will get a flavor and you can do it by yourself, right? That is the intention. Okay, so let's take that example again, 1 2 and 3, right? So let's just think about, if I separated out 1, and what I have left with is 2 and 3, right, in my list. Similar way, if I want to keep my 2 at first, I will be having 1 and 3 left in my list. Again, if I want to keep 3 at first, then I will be having 1 and 2 here, correct? Okay, now let's go and break it down further. So if I want to keep 1 and then 2 outside of this, and then I will be having only 3 inside the list. Similarly, if I want to put 1 and 3, and then I will be having only 2 inside the list, correct? Okay, now let's see in this. Okay, if I already have 2, then I am bringing 1 out, and then I will be having 3 inside the list, correct? And then similarly, if I bring 3 out, then 2 3, and I will be having 1 left in the array, right? Similarly, for this last one, I will be having 3 1 and then 2 and the last one we will be having 3, 2 and inside the list 1. So we know that from one number we can have only one possibility, right? So here if you see this one 3, so what is the solution we are getting from here? We are getting 1, 2, 3 and we are returning it back. Like if you think, we need not to return also, like we can just keep our leaf nodes, right? 1, 2 and then 3, this will be 1 and then 1, 3, 2, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3, 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, right? So what is our algo in this, right? See, in the first iteration what we have is we are going through with each number, right, and we are bringing that particular number out of the list. So for example, if I just bringing, let me use some other color so it will be easier to understand. If I am bringing 1 out, right, this 1 out, right, so I have 2, 3. Similarly I have to bring 2 out and then I will be left with 1, 3. Again I have to bring 3 out, so I will be having 1 and 2 here, correct? So first we need a loop using which we will be, so first let's just go through with the algorithm, right, before we start coding. This is very important, how you think through the problem. So let's just assume we have to let's just assume we have 1, 2, 3 in our list. So we have to go through each number, right? So we have to like take all the numbers from this array, right? 1, 2, 3. This one, let's give it a name called nums, right? So if you have numbers, okay, so what are we going to do here? So we are going to do for I in, so basically I want the index of each number, right? So I am just taking length of numbers, correct? So in this I will be having, let's just write it here so it will be easier to understand. So my I will be having 0, right, 1, 2, correct, because length of numbers is 3, so my I will be having 0, 1 and 2, correct. So now what are we going to do? What we have done basically here, see, when we are taking 0 out, we just have 2, 3 left and we have to do the same operation with 2, 3, correct. So can I say like this, I will keep my 0th index as it is, so numbers of 0 will be with me, and then I have to, if the function name is permutation, then I have to permute without this index, right, all the other numbers. So can I say like this, I have to do the permutation with a new array, correct, where which will be just nums minus nums of 0. So this minus 0 I am just writing down so that it will be easier to visualize, right? So for I equal to 0, we will just remove ith number, right? So our new array will look like this, 2 and 3, correct. What we have done here is 0th index which had 1 as value, we just removed it, right? Like if you see the first example what we had here in this place, we taken 1 out and then we had 2, 3 here, correct. Now we have to do permutation on 2, 3 in a list where I had 2, 3 in the code, right? Similar way we have to do it for, so here we are doing for 0, then we have to do it for 1, for 2, then we will get our answer, right, all this list, correct. So what will this return? So now my 2, 3 will go again here, so one similar for loop will work, and then that time I will be having 2 as my fixed number here, and like the next iteration I will be just having 3, like similarly what I have explained here. So let's go ahead and do the coding part of it. Okay, so one thing I think you remember, like when I told if I have an array of length 1, then we don't need to do anything, we will just return that, right? So can I say, like if my length of array is less than equal to 1, I will just return in a list of whatever I got, because the return type is list of list. So if I am getting 6 as input, like if I just have 6 as input, I have to return 6 of 6, right? So I am going through very basic. Let me know if you have any doubt in comment section. I will just try to solve all of your doubts, right? Okay, so if I have if I have an array of length less than equal to 1, then I know that is the answer. We need not to proceed anything further on that, right? Okay, now let's keep an array for result which we will be returning back, right? Like if I have two numbers, right, in our example 0 1, okay, that I have removed, but let me just draw it out again. So if I have 0 1, right, then our first thing will be keep 0 at first, and inside the list we will be having only 1, and in the second iteration we will be having 1 out and 0 inside, right? And as a result, 1 with a single element, now we know that it will return only one number, so 0 1 1 0, and these leaf nodes are my answer. Okay, so if it has length less than equal to 1, we are returning that, otherwise we have to create this one, right? If it is 2, length of 2, then we have to create this row, right? So for that, now we have to go through each element, because we in one iteration, like in each iteration, we want one number to be out, right? And we will do operation on the rest of the array, right? If I in range length of nums, because we want to keep each number out, right? We have to give opportunity to each number the similar way. So we are basically looping through each number. Now what I have value in that number, that I have to keep aside. Why? We will know later, right? Because that is something we have to append at first of our result, right? Okay, now as I mentioned, like what we have to do is we have to create a new array where we have to remove the element we are operating now, right? Because I don't want to do permutation of 1 and 1 2 3, right? This is wrong, correct? Because 1 is already used, correct? So we just have to do 1 and then 2 3. Basically whatever operation you are doing, that element you need not to pass through when you will run that code again, right? So my to be sent array, I will just copy the same and then I will remove. I will remove the particular value from that, right? So my to be sent in the first iteration for I equal to 0, it will look like 2 and 3, correct? Okay. Okay. Now what we have to do is, like whatever I have, whatever I will get from this to be sent, I have to iterate it through and add this 1 every time, right? So what does that mean? If 2 3 is giving me result as suppose 2 3 and 3 2, correct? That I have to add it to this one, right, every time. So what I have to do is I have to keep this number aside and then calculate the permutation, and whatever is the result, one I have to append in each result, right? Like let me just bring a new space. So if I have 1 2 3, I am keeping 1 aside, then I have 2 3 on which I will again do the permutation. Now if this 2 3 returns me 2 3 and 3 2, my ultimate result should look like 1 2 3 and 1 3 2. So basically whatever the permutation for the remaining list I will get, I have to append my value which I kept out in each result, right? So now again I have to do a for loop using I. Okay, let's use some other variable name. Okay, so this is an index of to be sent. So for idx in self dot permute. Now we will not do the permutation on nums, right? Now we have to do permutation on to be sent, correct? Because this is the array where I just don't have the index which I kept out, correct? Now what I have to do is like I dot insert here index dot insert. I have to insert my element which I kept out at the very first index, right? So this will look like this, and then whatever result I am getting, I have to append it with the list which I will send at last. Now after everything I will just return the result here. Let's run this code and see if we are able to solve this code. And let me know if you get some other solution in your mind, and we can work through which one is better, right? Let's just wait for some time. Okay, all the test cases passed. Now let's just submit and see what happens. Okay, so this is accepted and we are done. Okay, so one thing to understand here, they have mentioned all the integers of numbers are unique, right? If it is not unique, can we delete this? Like we couldn't remove this value, right? So that is some advanced stage of the program, because they mention all the integers are unique. That is why we came up with this approach. Now if all of them are not unique, then we have to be clever enough, and that particular solution will be little different than what we have done now. We'll come into that in some other video maybe. For now, if you have any doubt, let me know in comment section, and if you want to understand more on this, we can just connect, and I will let you know why I chosen this particular path, right? Thank you. Till then.